Welcome to the YouTube channel of Life and More. Bharat, we are made to believe that it has had no original inhabitants. Mainstream historians have depicted Bharat as a barren land where various races and cultures arrived at different times of. But there are many people like journalist author Utpal Kumar only debunk the Aryan Invasion Theory and calling Vedic and Harappan civilizations two sides of the same coin. Utpal Kumar has now come out with his new book, Eminent Distorians. Yes, it's not historians, but distorians. The book talks about all the original inhabitants of Bharat and it reevaluates Ashoka's legacy and Nehruvian obsession with his own greatness. It also reinterprets Bharat's golden era during the Gupta period and sheds new light on the post Gupta phase including the Karkotas, Gurjara-Pratiharas, Pallavas, Cholas, and Ahoms. So, welcome, Mr. Kumar, and many congratulations for your new book.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a pleasure being here.
So, first you wrote Bharat Rising and now Eminent Distorians. You seem to be at war with the eminent historians.
Yeah, I can say so, ma'am. I've always been very interested in history. Last 3 decades, I have been continuously. I'm trying to read history and historians and the historiography also, especially these countries. So yeah, you can say that history has been one thing which have always fascinated me. And when I started reading it, I started with the very historians who are today I'm calling them historians. I read almost most of the works, mainstream works, but later I realized that something was missing, and in their work. And what was very unfortunate, what I realized, is my personal behavior. I realized that it was a deliberate act of distortion. It was not done accidentally or by lack of knowledge. It was willful act of distortion on their behalf, and that's why I came up with this book.
Why do you say that it was a willful act?
Ma'am, see, when Bharat got independence, there were giants of historians at that time. Someone like Narsi Majumdar and Jadna Sarkar, and quite many of them were others were also there. After independence, what happened that in the cover of Nehruvian ecosystem, a set of new historian emerged, who started who called for writing history from the perspective of masses. See, that was the first. Like if you read the history of Jadna Sarkar, it primarily focuses on the kings and kingdoms, how they operated, what they thought. So, new set of historians when they emerged, led by Romila Thapar, their main charge was that we should have a history which where masses are the focus and not the kings. A very good idea. On paper it looks fantastic that yes, people should be on the focus, but unfortunately last 6 decades have passed by since that claim was made. Not a single book has come out which talks about which has been written from the perspective of masses. Because one is difficult also. It's easy to say that, okay, we should write from masses, but how can you write? And you need to have the historical evidences for that. So that was largely for the public consumption. And with that, and also, the kind of historian who came, they were leftist in their orientation. So, especially from late 1960s, India's intellectual ecosystem, especially historiography, was dominated by people with leftist ideology. So these people see, there's something about communism. When you are a communist, you invariably your first loyalty lies with the ideology. So that is my biggest grudge with leftist historians, that when they wrote the history of Bharat, they wrote like a leftist activists, leftist card holders, and that's why their objective was to push forward the idea of communism, And that's why when you see the history of Bharat, they try to to fit the Bharat history in the paradigm of communist theories. So I'll give one example. For instance, the D.N. Jha, for instance, he famously said that the Gupta period was not a golden period, and he ends that line saying that our golden period lies in the future. Just the same way, if you read the communist theory of, they'll say that, oh, all our golden period lies in the future when there will be classless society. So the history kind of was they followed the left, the communist principles to write the history, and that was the biggest grouse I had.
So that means it was not a factual history which we read, but won't people also accuse you of writing a rightist history?
Uh, See,
History has to be facts, no? From here and
no,
there, like in the right in the center.
absolutely no. First of all, I say I'm not a historian. I don't claim that. For me, I follow that being a historian is a very tough job. I mean, I believe what Jodha Sarkar said, that if you want to be a historian, you need to know all the languages. For instance, he wrote extensively on the medieval times, and his criteria was that if you want to write on medieval India, you need to know all the language prevalent at that time, from Persian to Urdu to Arabic and everything. So I mean, most of us don't. I mean, what we have done, we have relied on the second hand sources to write history, and so our job is just to highlight what has gone wrong. In this book, though, I've gone a step forward, and I also tried to do that. How Bharat's story can also be told. But this is I don't claim to be the historian. I have no idea that it's just. I want to open the new vista that, okay, the history can be said like that, and let historian now go and write, and explore more further into that aspect. The problem is this has not happened. I said this was deliberately they tried to push theories, and some of the theories are really nonsensical. I rarely use that word. For sure, Aryan Invasion Theory, you talked about initially. That theory had no basis. There is no basis. There is no literary evidence of that. There is no archaeological evidence of that. To the contrary, our literature says that the people always lived in this land. This is their the land where they were born, and they never came from outside. Yet we try to spoon feed our students reading history books that no, you came from Central Asia or Arctic region or whatnot, and I don't think any region is left. So they know not even archaeological evidence, and that is a funny part, because when this theory started, ma'am, I started with Aryan Invasion Theory. They said, oh, they invaded and they destroyed Harappan civilization. But unfortunately, no evidence was found. There was hardly any evidence. Initially, I remember when Wheeler, who was kind of the excavating the Harappan sites, he found some few skeletons and he got excited. Mortar Wheeler, and he said, "Oh, look, this is the evidence where how Aryans came and they completely destroyed the Harappans." Unfortunately, these were natural deaths. So slowly, when there were no evidence, they shifted to migration theory. But then they know evidence of migration also. So now what these historians are saying, that okay, they migrated in patches with small numbers. Unfortunately, the civilization they displaced, that is, I'm talking about Harappan. Harappan was the largest civilization of the era. Its geographical stretch lies from Afghanistan border till Narmada in the south and goes till Uttar Pradesh. It's a huge civilization with millions of people living there, and these people were not some illiterate people. They were leading a highly civilized society, urban society. They were trading. Mercantile people were there, so they can't be wiped out just by few people migrating from other part. And then we are told that okay, not just that. These Harappans also took the language from Aryans. And now who are the Aryans or Vedic people? Aryans, according to our historians, or I call them historians, these people were illiterates, nomads, but they had the most sophisticated language called Sanskrit. So there are a lot of basic loose ends in the theory they created. And then after the discovery of Saraswati, now we know that most of the Harappan sites are found on the course of dried Saraswati River. So now all these
mm,
things point towards something that what our sastras, our literature have been saying all along, that we didn't come from outside. We were
mm.
we will belong to this
We were
country.
here.
And if anything, people went from Bharat to outside. There are
Mm,
numerous literary evidence records about that. One, of course, is this Dasragi war, about which I mentioned in my book, where Sudash, when he defeated the group of 10 kings, some of the defeated kings went to West Asia and Central Asia. So there are evidence when people leave this strategy, and not when they come inside. So I think we need to look into that. But the reason is that the reason is political. As I said, the idea was to promote first communism, and also later the vested element got created. Like today, for instance, when you see the politics of DMK, this is just a 2.0 version of Aryan Invasion Theory. If you remove Aryan Invasion Theory, the entire politics of DMK, or North South Aryan Dravidian divide, or travel non travel divide, these all will go away. So there is politics now behind this history.
Why do you think that these deliberate attempts were made? Why was history written from a communist or Marxist side of
See, there
the
were two
story?
phases of distortion, ma'am. First was when the British were here, the colonial government was there, so they first distorted, and they come up with theory that that people would have come from Central Asia or some other region, because for them it was very difficult to say that okay, such a great civilization existed in Bharat, and that was indigenous. It was very difficult for them to accept that people from here went to even Europe, and all the Latin. Sanskrit is the mother of Latin language, for instance. It's very difficult for them to accept that.
Mm,
So then entire
mm,
their theory of superiority, or this white man's civilizational burden will completely will be questioned. So they wrote history for that reason. What is more unfortunate, and I understand that, because if British need to they had to do that if they wanted to legitimize their rule in this country. Problem happened post independence, when we got independent. Now we should have really written history from our own perspective. When I'm saying from
mm,
our own perspective, I'm not saying that you should distort it. You shouldn't say that okay,
mm,
Maharana Pratap won the Haldi Ghati war, which Rajasthan government tried teaching a few years back. Now that is
mm,
distortion. I'm not for distortion, but I am saying that our heroes should be indigenous. Our hero can't be Babur, who ruled for 4 years. Our heroes should be Rana Sanga, for instance.
mm,
Our heroes will be Nike Devi, who defeated Muhammad Ghori, and she defeated strongly that he didn't even dare to attack India for 10 years. So these people, and we have got so many indigenous heroes, like uh, when you write from history as an Indian, then you should talk about Indian heroes. Like when British will write history, they will glorify Churchill, and they should. There's nothing wrong with that. But why should we also
mm,
glorify Churchill? No. For us, Churchill was the biggest villain. No, he led to death of at least 3 million people in Bengal, where could he easily
mm,
he could have saved them. So my point is that our heroes need not be the heroes of the West, and this is where
mm,
we faltered. We continue to
mm,
make our heroes who were invaders, where our history, look at our
mm,
history, it will look like a series of invasions. Muhammad
mm,
Qasim came, then Muhammad Mahmud Ghazni came, then Gori came, then slave dynasty started ruling the Delhi. And the truth is
mm,
that we won much more battles than we lost. For instance, we are told that we are often reminded about uh, 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 this person, the person who destroyed Nalanda, Bakhtiyar Khilji. We are reminded of how he destroyed. He with just 18 soldiers, he defeated Sena dynasty and captured Bengal. But we are not told that our own Assamese ruler of that time, King Pithu, he defeated him so badly that his own generals later killed him. Bakhtiyar Khilji was killed by his own generals after the defeat at the hand of Assamese ruler called King Pithu. So we need to tell history from our perspective. We have a glorious past, and but I'm not saying that we should falsify it. We should say something which doesn't exist, because that's not right. But we need to take pride in what actually was our own.
Mm. And we also need to represent the facts, the factual history,
Absolutely.
not from
Fact
an
is,
angle.
ma'am, fact is sacrosanct. Fact is, and that's why for
Mm.
me, I always look up to somebody like Jagna Sarkar, for instance. Like Jagna Sarkar always
Mm.
emphasized that facts are sacrosanct. He for instance
Mm.
wrote a history of Marathas, and Maratha
Mm.
people were absolutely unhappy with him when he wrote that. Some of the references he made of Shivaji were not very glorifying. Uh, but later, when he wrote the history of Bengal, also he did the same thing. Some of the Bengalis were absolutely angry with him after that. So my point is, history
Mm.
is not for pleasing everyone.
Mm.
History is for the important history that you take lesson for future also. You learn from history,
Mm.
and that's why
Mm.
it should not be politicize it. History का छेड़छाड़ नहीं होनी चाहिए. History should be as it is.
Mm. 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 So the actually what happened that means was the British people wrote it from their angle, and then Indian governments post independence they followed their path. Perhaps the complex which the Britishers had, the Indian and the Nehruvian people also had. Nehruji also had that complex of white men superior
Yes,
to the
true.
black men.
True, ma'am. And in fact, he created the colonial historiography. But real distortion
Mm,
started in the late 1960s, when Indira Gandhi government was in minority. So she needed support of the communist parties. And that was the bargain she made. The bargain was that, okay, ठीक है, we'll support you
mm,
politically, but you give us all the educational institutions. So all the history I see, and that was the time when JNU was created.
mm,
ICHR was created. There was no need to create ICHR, Indian Council of Historical Research, when there were already ICSSR was
mm.
there. So it was
Yeah,
created precisely because they wanted to politicize history. Otherwise, you don't need to create.
yeah.
If the SSR is there, why just for
Mm,
history you need to have ICHR? So all these things were
mm,
politicized at that time, and they were given to leftist people to fill. And that was a time when just one idea, one ideology was allowed to flourish, and rest of other were banished. And it continued
mm.
unfortunately for the next almost 50 years.
50 years because that is how they were the rulers. The party was winning, so nobody else was allowed to publish anything else. There must be people who were wanting to do that, but
No, ma'am, what happened that there were no one was there to question. See, it was a group of
mm,
people who kind of captured the academia, and each one will try to substantiate the claim of the other. So I will back you, back me. That was the kind of system. The
I
first
scratch your back,
yeah,
you
yeah,
scratch mine.
exactly. And the first time, and the only first time when they were kind of exposed was in the Ram Mandir movement, when when they were
Yeah.
forced to come to the court and justify what they were
Mm,
claiming in the media. So, like in media,
mm,
these people, our eminent historians, they ran campaigns saying that, oh, but Ram is a mythical figure. There were no mandir existed
mm,
in the disputed site, and all these things. They wrote
mm,
articles in all the mainstream papers, Times of India, Hindustan Times, everywhere. So they were called.
mm,
Court called them to, okay, come now, tell us where is the evidence. None of them
mm,
at the time could provide. They all chickened out, saying that, oh,
mm,
okay, give me some time, let me find out. I don't have evidence right now, but I know that this is there. So and the court doesn't
mm,
work on that. So they couldn't provide. They all chickened out after that, and that was the first time when they were exposed big time. And that was the beginning of kind of the fall of these so-called giants of historians which we had. And later, when now that there is social media is there to expose one and everyone. And also with the change of government
mm,
since 2014, now they don't have the political patronage. They always ride it on the
mm,
political patronage. So now they're kind of
mm,
on the sleepy wicket big time.
mm. So Ram Janmabhoomi case was the time when you also began thinking about all these things, or was it there in your mind? Someday I
Ramjan,
will try to
uh,
correct the things.
at the time of Ram Janma, I was quite young, and I was in school, so I will not claim that. But I'm the product of the post Ram Janmabhoomi movement. So because I always saw that movement not just for the claiming of a mandir, it was also claiming of the kind of the narrative of the narrative which was kind of was completely secularized. Quote unquote, and it was better narrative, and it was more of a civilizational battle. I see that entire movement from that perspective, and I'm the product of that, that 90s, and that the growing
mm,
awareness about the kind of the politics in the name of secularism was carried, which was one way. Kind of the where only one side will allow to pursue genuine pluralism, but the other side will allow to let go away. So
mm.
yeah, so yes, ma'am.
So when did you actually begin writing this particular book? And
Uh,
like how many years of work it is, and whatever kind of
this,
research you went into?
it took me like 2 years almost to kind of conceptualize that I'm going to write big book called Eminent Distorians with this kind of focus. But my research is almost 3 decades, ma'am, and it's my entire life of whatever I read in history. And
Okay.
of course, everything I couldn't put in. So, I have to write in about 250, 300 pages book. So many things I have to also judiciously take out. So and that was very difficult. Taking out thing was more difficult than putting in there. Then I have to find out, okay, what is more important that I should keep for my reader, and
Mm.
I'll leave out the rest. So,
But
but
it
it
could
is.
have been a thicker book. Why did you take out things?
Because I wanted to just a window for for readers, that this history can, and I wanted to cover the entire history from beginning till independence. So I wanted to just give a broader this thing about this can be your history, and then you discover more, go into more detailed way into that. Bigger book might have been discouraging for many people. People now don't have the, and I believe that that for appetite for 500, 600 pages book. Some people do read. I'm not judging
Okay.
them, but I wanted to
Mm,
take the entire history of Bharat to the maximum number of people. So that's
mm.
why I wanted to give them the
Maybe
basic peek into what history can be like.
mm, and take them forward towards that path where they look forward to more books on these
Absolutely.
things.
Absolutely, and that's why I
So,
introduce all the like major characters and major events, and from
mm,
Vedic period to Ashoka to, and ending up with Gandhi, where his role of revolutionary. So I touched upon everyone, but I didn't go much detail into that. And now that is on the readers to now find out. And today in the era of in the internet today, it's
mm,
easy, it's available. People can find out more
mm,
about that.
but that also gives you an option to write about each one, maybe one book on each aspect
Yeah, it can
that you
happen. Maybe
mentioned.
no, I
Okay.
I might avoid that, but yeah, yeah, of course, and I'm sure that people are doing it. Like I know a
Yeah.
friend of mine, Abbas, he's writing he wrote a book on Babur, and he's wanting to do the
Okay.
entire Mughal empire and everything. So people are doing, and the already work is happening on that front. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So during your research, what did you find? Like which historical event or figures you think are most commonly misunderstood, misrepresented, misinterpreted? Who are those unfortunate historical figures of India?
See, historical figures. Throughout, if you see in ancient India, for instance, the way Ashoka is presented. Ashoka is presented with the epithet "great,"
Mm,
I always question that part, ma'am, because if Ashoka was so great, why did people of Bharat forgot him? He got accidentally discovered in 1815 by Princeps,
mm,
because Ashoka did one great thing. He was very I'll say that he was ancient Bharat's first man who understood the importance of PR. So he got his entire work inscribed on inscription on stone, and put it at very strategic places. And I say that there was work of PR because some of them were deliberately he tried to magnify his role. And today
mm,
we see that he got revived or he's erected based on his inscriptions only. But when you read him deeper, you find that he was forgotten precisely because he was not seen as a great ruler from the Indic point of view. Every civilization has its own way of looking at people and what is good or great for them. in Bharat
mm,
thing, there is something called, the dharmic pravritti hoti hai. Usme Ashoka never fit in. Ashoka was seen as a Chand Ashoka, Ashoka who is a sadist. And he was not a great ruler by any sketch. And when I started reading about him, I realized that no, a lot of myth has been created. Some of them were created by the Nehruvian historians, but Nehru loved Ashoka. So, like Ashoka, for instance, was already a Buddhist when he conquered Kalinga. While we are told that after Kalinga, he got so upset and then he got converted into Buddhism. That is an absolute lie. And his kind of his killing spree also continued later in his life. Like he killed 18,000 Ajivikas. At one
mm,
incident I mentioned in the book was that that one Jain painter painted Buddha, Gautam Buddha, and going to a Jain Tirthankar. And Ashoka got so angry that he got him and his entire family put in a house, and the house was burnt. And he told people to to kill any Jain he sees in the state. And this killing spree stopped only when his own brother Tissa also got killed in the process. So see, these kind of things doesn't uh, put him in the league of greatness. Also, see, I have a problem with this idea of historian putting the tag the great. It is not for us to put the tag.
mm.
Ashoka the great, Akbar the great,
Exactly.
Mughal the great. Why the great?
Mm,
Just
yeah.
tell the story. Don't put that the judgmental point. Let the
Mm,
reader will know if he's great or not. So
mm,
this is how you try to to distort history. So starting from him, then I had a major problem with the way our medieval time was presented, especially post Gupta. Post Gupta, and here I found that some of the nationalist historians also faltered. They also praised
mm,
Gupta period as the golden period, which is right. But when I started researching for my book, I found that post-Gupta period was also, in fact, was a bigger golden era for the country, where in the entire North India
mhm,
we have Pallavas and Cholas, amazing civilization. In fact, Cholas, I believe, the epics of all the civilizational achievements which Bharat had done. And so
mm,
our golden era didn't end with Guptas; it actually ended with Cholas. So my so and the way we are shown in our book as a people who submitted to invasions so readily. The reality is that we fought so hard. Islam conquered the entire Central Asia, West Asia, North Africa, and reached as far as France within 100 years of Prophet Muhammad's death. While in Bharat, it took them
mm,
500 years to make some foothold in Delhi. 550 years.
mm,
So, and those 550 years we fought, and in that fighting spree, we won maximum battles. So I think
mm,
we kind of distorted, and we tried to a picture was presented where we just shown that we just हमसे ना हो पाएगा, and we just lost. They came, they saw, they
mm.
conquered. That was kind of narrative being said. Then the way
Yeah.
Mughals were presented. I'm an admirer of what Akbar did. Akbar
Mm,
was really somebody who changed the course of Mughal Empire. He was one of the first rulers, Muslim rulers, who thought about and actually managed to succeed to an extent of incorporating Hindus in the empire building process. He was the first one to do that. So he needs to be admired. But you can't put the entire Mughal into that category. An attempt has been
mm,
made where Mughals are great. Everything, all
mm,
Mughals were not great. Babur, for instance, you read his own Babur Nama, the way he wrote about Chanderi, after victory of Chanderi, the entire skull, head of the different Hindu warriors were put and made like a this thing pillar. So
pyramid.
he was a bloodthirsty ruler. And
Mm,
but then he selectively quoted, and just after that he mentioned about the beauty of Chanderi. Oh, such a beautiful place. So what our historians
mm,
did, they picked that part where Babur was shown as somebody, a lover of nature, a beautiful writer,
mm,
and all these things. The fact was that he was a brutal soldier too. He
mm,
saw
mm,
himself as a leader of Islam. Ghazi, he called himself
mm,
Ghazi. So that history has to be told. Same with I'll give another example. I'll give about Shahjahan. Shahjahan is portrayed
mm,
as somebody's lover boy and everything. The reality is when the Taj Mahal was being made, there was massive famine in this country, And at
Yeah.
that time, people were dying, and the situation was so bad that people were also eating human flesh to survive. At that time, he ensured that maximum tax was collected, and tax was almost more than 50%. And
Mm.
despite this famine, and Taj Mahal was created.
Mm.
So my point is, to project somebody. And today, if you see Taj Mahal from that perspective, you'll not even go. It is made of the
Mm.
blood of millions of people. So
Mm.
that reality has been
Mm.
hidden. And Aurangzeb, so
Mm.
we are still fighting the battle. Still, we are continuing with the,
Mm.
whether Aurangzeb is secular or not. Whether reality is Aurangzeb
Yeah.
himself has written in the Farmans, and his contemporary chroniclers have written that what he wanted to do and what he did. So
Mm.
that was it. And finally, who got us independence? That really caught my eye. Because this is a very new history, where
Mm.
was it because a kind of narrative is set given to us that that we won our independence through non-violence, without weapon, without lathi or anything, with love and
Mm.
non-violence we got.
Mm.
The reality is that
So
that's another lie, ma'am. And
that's a wrong thing.
yeah. So I'm not saying that Gandhi didn't play the role. Gandhi made this
Mm.
movement mass movement. He got everyone involved.
Mm.
Brilliant. Everyone saw Gandhi as a person and admired him. Like even Subhash Chandra Bose looked up at Gandhi as a leader.
Mm.
Bhagat Singh looked
Mm.
up at Gandhi as a leader. So Gandhi was accepted as the leader.
Mm.
What was the Gandhi? Was Gandhi the reason British left India? No. British themselves
Mm.
said that we left because of the influence of INA, and they stopped
Mm.
trusting the British army, because the British army of the time was under influence of what Netaji Subhash Bose's INA had done in Southeast Asia. So the reality is that, so we shouldn't be distorting and creating heroes. And I think that we can have
Mm.
more heroes, where Gandhi is as important as Subhash Bose is, where Savarkar is as important as Sardar Patel is there. So I think
Mm.
we need to be to stop being selective in history. Right.
We need to be objective and
Absolutely.
also write about people as they were and not like putting somebody on the pedestal that he was all good, because all good cannot be there. There has to
I,
be gray shades at least, if not bad.
no, I'll give you an example, Pamji. Like, a very nice book has come. In fact, I was critical of book for different reason. I was already had written book on Savarkar.
Mm.
Savarkar is now today either glorified or vilified. Either he's the
Mm.
hero or he's a villain. Uh,
Mm.
I see him a hero precisely because he gave his life for the country. There's no denying that. What
Mm.
Arun Sawari's book says that he was also somebody who created an aura around himself deliberately,
Mm.
and there is right. See, that's why human
Mm.
uh, can have a contradictory attribute in his life. So that is there.
Mm.
But does that make him a less patriot? No, he still gave his life. He went to Kalapani.
Mm.
He suffered there,
Mm.
but he also
Mm.
tried to
Mm.
modify his role. So I think history can have both the things. History can be like Vikram
Mm.
Sampath, Savarkar, and Arun Sawari Savarkar can be merged together and
Mm.
given a fuller picture about Savarkar, and we should be mature enough to accept that. And even
Normally,
after
people are very.
even after merging
Go ahead.
him, Savarkar for me still remains a hero because he did what
Mm.
we can do.
Mm. Mm. But normally, people are very passionate. They will write only from one particular angle, and they like to not add those things which make them comfortable or make their hero look a little negative.
No, but I think, and that's a very unindic way of looking at the people or things. For instance, this I'm saying
Mm.
unindic with a very with seriousness. Look at the way we also criticize our gods. Look at our
Mm.
Puranas and this thing. Wherever our gods are being criticized, because at the end of
Mm.
the day, they're shown like a with human attribute. And once you
Mm.
take the human attribute, you are bound to make mistakes. So let's not
Mm.
glorify. Let's not make Gandhi didn't make mistakes. Gandhi made thousands of mistakes, but still Gandhi was
Mm.
important. So was Savarkar. Savarkar may have made and has
Mm.
made mistakes,
Mm.
but
Mm.
Savarkar at the end of the day did what 90% people won't be able to do it. So I think we need to be mature enough to see those contradictions and still admire the people who
Mm.
what he did.
Mhm. Mhm. Also, I think our history, Mughal history has, or history of India, which that has been written, has been mostly Delhi centric. Away from the Delhi Sultanate, the other areas were have not been written much about. No, that's why
Absolutely.
people don't know about.
See, that is one of the reasons. Also, I tried to write this book in though in around 300 pages, but I wanted to write and put those dynasties in the picture, like Karkotas in Kashmir,
Mm,
one of the most
mm,
amazing dynasties I came across, especially his ruler
mm,
called Lalitaditya. His exploits were
mm,
even better than the exploits of Alexander. We hardly know
mm,
about. Then the exploits of Cholas I talked about, exploits of Pallavas, exploits of Vijayanagar Empire, exploits of Ahoms. And look,
mm,
also it's good for the country.
mm,
We talk about that, we need to unite the country. We can't unite the country by just talking about Delhi. And the reality is
mm,
that in Delhi, uh, uh, we know about all Mughal rulers. From Babur, at least in origin, we know everybody. Unfortunately, most of them were not good enough rulers. Why do
mm,
we need to
mm,
know all of them? And if I talk about, okay, give us 5 Chola rulers, we will at more max we'll talk about just two, Raj Raja Chol and Rajendra
mm,
Chol. That's it, which is unfortunate. Chola dynasty was the
mm,
longest running dynasty in this country, and we just don't know
mm,
about two. Well, where
mm,
Sultan ruler, we know about everyone. In Sultan ruler from
mm,
1206 AD to 1526, when Panipat, first battle of Panipat
mm,
happened, it's almost 320 years. There were just two rulers who were worth even talking. Aladdin Khilji and Muhammad bin Tughlaq. That's it. Rest of
mm,
other were
mm,
mediocre rulers by Bharat standard, historical standards. But if you talk about them, then you
mm,
have to talk about everyone. You have to talk about all the
mm,
Vijayanagar rulers, all of them. So we don't talk about it. So my point is, we need to have that perspective where we don't over glorify Delhi, and also Delhi is a, by doing that, we are kind of imposing today's version into the past. Delhi was never a very important city. In fact,
yeah.
when Muslim rulers captured Delhi, Delhi was not the most important city in the country. Kannauj was
Mm,
much more important. Multan
mm,
was a bigger city. Lahore was a bigger city, and it remained for quite some time. So my point is, when you do that, you also kind of trying to impose 21st century version of Delhi into 12th century or 8th century or 10th century, which is wrong. And
mm,
also, I have a problem with saying regional and mainstream, like Cholas, Ahoms are put in regionals. They are not regionals. They're
mm,
as mainstream as any other
yeah.
dynasty in the country.
Yeah.
And that way, if we do that, we will try to also bring it the country together. This is a very big country. We
Mm,
need to have heroes across, and not just from Delhi.
yeah. Each region is as important as the capital of a nation.
Yes.
Right? But then, see, I have studied from Kendriya Vidyalaya, and all I remember of history is Mughal history. So even in the textbooks, we don't have other people.
Yeah.
It's even today they are mentioned in small boxes. The main chapters will be only on Mughal history, on all those things. In between, they'll have small blocks. They'll write 4 or 5 lines about other rulers.
Yeah.
So textbook writing has also been flawed.
No, ma'am, that is the biggest problem. See, what my book will do. My book is reaching out to a reader when he's 18-year-old or 20-year-old. By the time his mind is already made. By the time in school, he's
Yeah.
already read about Aryan Invasion Theory. By the time he already knows that Akbar
Mhm.
is the great, Mughals are great. By the time he already knows that we got our independence through Gandhiji. Now, for him, 90% of them will, when they'll pick my book, they say, "Oh, what rubbish is he talking about?" It's all rubbish.
Mhm.
What I read for last 18 years, he's trying to just
Mhm.
throw it to the dustbin. So 90%
Mhm.
will not pick my views. He'll say, "Oh no, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a right winger. He's a WhatsApp University product," and it's very easy to put them into that club. The reality is that they have already been colonized. They might have been colonized in the school, and that's why we need to change our school
Mhm.
textbooks.
Mhm.
That's the primary thing. Otherwise, this is the band-aid. Already there is a huge
Mhm.
wound has been created. I'm just trying to put a band-aid through my book, which is not going to help. Which
Mhm.
will not help. So I think we need to change our school textbook. We need to write history from our own perspective. And the saying is very, of you saying that till the time lions don't write their history, the hunt will be glorified, and that's what is happening. That's what happening. We are still talking about Mughals, and we are talking about all Mughals. It is any we know the dynasty. अच्छा अकबर का बेटा हुमायूं था, हुमायूं का बेटा बाबर,
Because
अकबर था, अकबर का
we
बेटा
are the
जहांगीर.
students are supposed to learn that
Learn
entire genealogy,
exactly,
no? You're
exactly.
supposed to like rectify that because उसमें से questions आएंगे. You have to learn. Other things are not
Now,
important.
while researching, I realized the history of, for instance, Mewar. It has almost 1,000 years of glorious history. We don't like we talk about Maharana Pratap. We are forced to teach him because Maharana Pratap fought so valiantly Akbar that we are forced to teach him. But are we taught about somebody like Maharana Kumbha? Maharana Kumbha was even greater
Hmm.
ruler. Maharana Kumbha, out of 84 forts made in that region, which actually saved Maharana Pratap, almost 32 to 33 was made by Maharana Kumbha. And he was so amazing ruler. We don't know about him. And Maharana Pratap
Hmm.
also went to that extent of sacrificing himself precisely because he had that 1,000 or 800 years of glorious history. Where had he gone the other way, वो कुल की जो होता है ना, कुल की इज्जत खराब हो जाती. वो he was fighting for the respect of his own dynasty, and his long
Hmm.
history. So if you don't know that, he comes across as somebody in silos, walking in silos. He was not walking in silos. He had a long
Hmm.
history too, and they all were connected. In my book, I write about how, for instance, Shivaji was influenced by Maharana Pratap. In fact, Shivaji family finds their genealogy, their family link with the Maharana Pratap family. And then
Okay.
later, while I was researching for Ahoms, I find that one Ahom king who actually his successor fought Aurangzeb in next 10 years. He was actively seeking information from his neighboring Kuch Bihar ruler, asking me, okay, how is Shivaji fighting Aurangzeb? So look at the entire
Okay.
country. It's not that they were working in silos. They all were taking information from each other. Okay, achha. And that's why you see Ahoms, when Ahom defeated Mughals in 1671 AD and stopped
Hmm.
the Mughal movement in Northeast India. The warfare strategy was similar to what Shivaji did in down south. So
Hmm.
this is what is it's a very interesting aspect where we were not just working in silos. We are often told that we Hindu ruler didn't care about anybody. वो insular थे, अपने आप में
Hmm.
रहते थे. No, they were
Hmm.
fighting, and that was throughout happening.
Hmm.
So I think we need to change our textbook, especially in schools.
Hmm. So as a conscientious and objective and passionate Bharatiya, uh, what would you I would say, what would you want to do for the school textbooks? Would you want to do something for the school textbooks?
See, ma'am, first of all, I'll say I'll want our history textbook to be made interesting. Deliberately, our textbook history books are made unreadable. You read the textbooks, and that's why history of even like William Dalrymple is so widely read. What he has for once, I may disagree. I disagree with some things he wrote even in the last book, but I admire him for the way he writes his book. It's beautifully written, well researched.
Mm,
It's like a storytelling. History should be like that.
mm,
What Vikram does, what Sanjeev Sanyal
mm,
does. So my point, history should be made interesting. Our eminent historians, they deliberately have made our history so difficult कि आप पढ़ ही नहीं सकते हो. You will start detesting. This become economic theories are put in and everything. It just should
mm,
be there like a story, like a novel, where you also learn. Okay, this is how it happened. Okay, this is the lesson we can learn from there. So I think we need to do that. We need to bring stories in our history books. We need to make it readable.
mm. Are you doing something in that regard? Like,
Uh,
I don't know, approaching the government or the NCERT or
no,
whatever that could be done.
as a writer, see, I'm also a journalist. So as a journalist, I often write my articles, and of course I criticize. I've criticized so many times that we need to change our NCERT textbooks and everything. Slowly it's
Mm,
happening. It's not that there is complete no movement there, but movement is very slow.
mm,
I believe that government's focus is now on other aspects, geostrategic, economy, and other things, political. And I understand that to run a government, especially
mm,
uh, a country like India, it's not that easy. But I believe that they need to bring their focus on on
mm,
on education, because that's where see,
mm,
mental coloniality
mm,
is the most difficult thing to fight on. I think it's time that they
yeah,
realize it and try to,
mm,
because once you're free in the mind, then it doesn't matter. You will win the battle. Half the battle is won there
yeah,
itself. I think they need to
yeah.
they need to understand that. Unfortunately, I believe that still they're not very seriously moving on that front. So
Mm.
yes.
Because the change has to come from that school level, maybe a class 5 or 6 student. He has to read the factual history.
Yeah, no, like ma'am, I'm very sure on that front. And I often say that I'm not a favor of government being having any business in educational institution, everything. But wherever
Mm,
government goes, unfortunately, uh, excellence goes down. Government brings lethargy. Government brings a sense of patronage and everything. But
mm, mm,
here, at least the role of government is still there. That government will have to at least remove that textbook which is being read, and then
mm,
bring the level playing field. Let this entire uh, I, I mean, in intellectual ecosystem take over and tell history from their own perspective. But first has to be removed, and that
mm,
only government can do, which
mm,
unfortunately not happened till now.
mm. So now that your book has been out for some time, January it was released or February?
February, yeah, on Saraswati Puja, on
Have
2nd of February.
have you, uh, yeah. So have you received some criticism? Have How has been the response?
Uh,
Or people
response has
have
been
only
large.
been appreciating?
The response has largely been positive. Some criticism, of course, has
Mm,
come from here there, but largely been positive. See, there is one very good aspect about the leftist historiography. If they find their book well researched, they will largely keep quiet about it. They will not talk. They will presume and assume that you don't exist. It's a very good tactics. You don't
mm,
talk about them. So, like the moment they will start talking and criticizing the book, well, that's why I've given the footnotes. I have talked from where I have taken and everything. I put everything there. My
mm,
book might have been written like a journalist, book of a journalist, but it's also equally academic in nature. Where I've ensured that footnotes are there, all detailed references are put in there. So largely, when such books come, they keep quiet. They don't talk much about that. They want people to believe that nothing happened, nothing came out. But largely, it has been positive. The book has already is set for the for a reprint. Just 1.5 months has gone,
okay,
and yeah, we are going for a reprint now. So it's doing well.
okay.
It's doing well, and that's very heartening.
That's Yeah, yeah, that's a great thing that people are reading and wanting to read more. And I'm sure people are wanting to have more books from you on these lines, writing about the history of India from, I would say, a factual point of view.
No,
So, are
I'm
you
definitely.
planning?
Yeah, history is something which I've always. My books were largely centered around history. Even my articles, when political
Mhm.
articles will have some historical references and everything. Well, history is something I have been deeply into that. So definitely, ma'am, in future also, if I write something, which couple of them are mine, but I'm not really explored that. But it will be around history and politics when the two merge. So what comes out of that? So something
Mhm.
on that. But history will definitely be there, ma'am.
Okay, when you look at your own book, this particular book, Eminent Historians, uh, I'm sure, as you said, you did a lot of research and you omitted certain parts which you were think that they were not required or maybe making it more voluminous. Do you now think that there were certain things that which should have been included?
See, the history of Bharat is so
Is an
huge, man.
afterthought कि नहीं वो ऐड कर देना चाहिए था.
There are quite a few, in fact. But at that time also when I was checking out, like the role of
Hmm.
Rajput, for instance, I should
Hmm.
have got more references on that, especially the Rajputs who got aligned with Mughals, for instance. People like Raja Jai Singh, Raja Man Singh, Raja Jaswant Singh, Raja Ram Singh, and those people were part of the Mughal nobility, Mughal court. Now, I thought that I should talk a bit more about them. Sometimes they are being made the villain of the piece. The reality is when, like, for
Hmm.
example, when I'm reading the history of Maharana Pratap, I'm very certain
Hmm.
that had Raja Man Singh not there in the Mughal army, maybe things wouldn't have been that great for Maharana Pratap. He kind of acted as a buffer sometimes. He also protected him in some way. So these people,
Hmm.
as you say, that the things don't go in black and white. People sometimes the gray is also a very important area, and
Yeah.
so this. Or even just one thing, for instance, just one thing is criticized too much. Many people, eminent historians also have criticized just one thing. But I was reading
Hmm.
yesterday somewhere that when he died, Aurangzeb said that a pillar of kufr has fallen finally. So look how Aurangzeb looked at just one thing, for instance, and he
Hmm.
was somebody who fought on behalf of Mughals. He fought. In fact, he was sent to the most difficult battles, like for instance, in Afghanistan, he
Hmm.
was sent there to fight. So, but how Aurangzeb looked at him, that the wall of the pillar of kufr has finally fallen. So I think I could have done, but but still I believe that why I cut out. I didn't want my book to be like the 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees, because then
Hmm.
my interest will go down. I wanted to get as many
Hmm.
readers read a book, and where
Hmm.
they will have kind of basic information about what past history should look like. Otherwise, 1,000, 2,000, then
Hmm.
many people won't be able to afford the book. I was also looking at the
Hmm.
affordability. So I'm not too worried about that.
Hmm.
Maybe we can look in some other book next time. But yeah,
Hmm.
I could have added, and
Maybe
there are
if we come up.
more, quite a few more episodes like that. Yeah, I could have talked
Hmm.
more about the
Okay.
stories, for instance. Beautiful role they
Okay.
had, like the way they acted together. They didn't work in silos, but presented. We are presented like
Hmm.
that Ras Bihari Bose, Bhagat Singh, or Chapekar brothers, or
Hmm.
Aurobindo Ghosh, who later becomes Sri Aurobindo. They all work in their own silos. No, they all work together, and there is a huge
Hmm.
line from 1900 to 1947. They all work together. So I could have explored more that
Hmm.
part, but still I'm not too unhappy with what has come out.
Hmm. Okay. And maybe uh, I read somewhere that Indian kings and they were very scientific minded people and they supported science and they supported technology a lot. But we don't find all those things. Maybe you can include these
Yeah,
aspects
yes, absolutely.
because our kings are always represented as people who are filthy rich and not bothered about
See,
anybody
ma'am,
else in their praja.
my simple argument there will be that just open the mind and see which people
Hmm.
or which society follows commandment, and which society or community allows people to seek themselves, seek truth yourself.
Hmm.
This
Hmm.
tradition, Bharat tradition, allows you to seek yourself,
That's
seek your
true.
truth on your own. So that's why we may have 33 crores
Hmm.
gods also, because every individual can have their own god. They doesn't need to just have
Hmm.
one godhead. So this itself
Hmm.
says that there is scope for where of scientific mind, rational mind. The
Hmm.
commandment-based system doesn't have that. Commandment-based system will tell you that this is truth, then this is the only truth. Now, which
Hmm.
we know that this is absolute bunkum. This is false. There can't be one truth.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even like the science also,
Hmm.
what works in our universe might not work in the alternate universe. There are
Hmm.
multiverse theories. So what is true here might not be true there. So even science support that,
Yeah.
and our theory is more
Hmm.
closer to that in the mind. So
Hmm.
organically we are scientific nature people. Organically we are more.
Hmm.
We accept changes. We accept reforms very readily and very. It doesn't come with conflict. So, but yeah, I
Mm.
could have added more on that. The kind of the something which Dalrymple wrote in his own book. Though I believe that he highlighted the
Mm.
Buddhist part more and the Hindu part
Mm.
less. But he talked about that the
Mm.
role of Bharat in shaping the world, especially in the field of science and everything. And yeah, I could have done that,
Mm.
but again, no, it has increased a few more pages and everything. So I
Mm.
wanted to cut that.
Mm. Okay. So, what are you presently working on? Have you
Right
begun
now,
another book
no,
or resting?
there's something in mind. I've not thought about that. It's again will have to be
Okay.
history only, ma'am. But yeah,
Okay.
right now I'm kind of pushing the book. I'm promoting it because that's also very important. And you now realize that just
Yeah,
writing book is is not
it's
important. You also
important.
need as many people. So
Yeah.
maybe 15,
Mm.
20 more days I'll do that. And then, but I have something in mind. I'm with
Mm.
history only, obviously. Yeah, but not the
Okay.
skill won't be that vast. I'll try to pick a particular episode or particular
Short and sweet.
few personalities, and their it will revolve around them.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So, as you don't call yourself historian, you said you're a storyteller, right? So, do
Yes.
we expect anytime fiction from you?
No, very difficult. Fiction is a very difficult art. I don't think I'm still capable enough for that. I believe that fiction writing is very difficult. And there you are
Okay.
creating the entire world, and so you have to be very imaginative.
Yeah.
So, like for me, the
Mm.
highest form is poetry writing, poem, write poem, and then comes the fiction writing,
Mm.
and then non-fiction. So I'm still not evolved enough to write the two first two.
Okay.
I'm more comfortable with the non-fiction world where I have some narrative already presented, and there I can paint my own colors and bring it out. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. ठीक है. Thank you so much, Utpal, for talking to us. And I wish you all the best for your all the upcoming books. And I wish you write more about individual dynasties, maybe individual kings, to let people know who were they. We often like we know them as in 4 or 5 lines we know this kingdom, but the detailed stories of different people India had in all
Ab-
its white,
ab-
black, and gray shades.
absolutely. No, I think in future that's what I'll do. I'll pick few stories from my book and try to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
That has been I'm thinking about them. Yeah, I'll do. And thank you so much for inviting me, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. Good night.